In the skies over Ukraine, the battlefield has shifted. Russian missiles are twisting past defenses once thought impenetrable. As Patriot batteries falter, Kyiv faces a deadly new reality. And now, Washington is raising the stakes, preparing Ukraine to strike, and strike deep into the heart of Russia itself. Months of relentless Russian missile strikes have revealed a stark shift in the battlefield balance. Ukrainian and Western officials now warn that Moscow has successfully upgraded its missile technology to outmaneuver the Patriot defense systems, Kyiv's most advanced shield against ballistic threats. The evidence has been devastating. Drone-making facilities in and around Kyiv were struck repeatedly this summer, with missiles maneuvering through Ukraine's defenses before plunging into steep terminal dives or performing evasive movements to confuse and avoid Patriot interceptors. Officials said the upgrades apply to both the Iskander-M mobile system with a 500-kilometer range and the Kinzhal air-launched missile, capable of flying 400 km. One former Ukrainian official described the shift as nothing less than a turning point.
It is a game changer for Russia.
Ukraine's interception rate has collapsed. Data from the London-based Centre for Information Resilience shows that while Kyiv managed to down 37% of incoming missiles in August, the success rate plummeted to just 6% in September. In a single night in late September, all 4 Iskander-Ms fired struck their intended targets. The consequences were severe. An August 28th strike badly damaged a facility producing Turkish Bayraktar drones. Officials briefed on the incident said 2 missiles appeared to specifically target a company designing drone components, evading air defences and even damaging offices of the EU delegation and British Council nearby. A Western official briefed on Patriot performance said the first signs of Russian upgrades emerged in the data itself. Incoming missiles were suddenly veering in the terminal phase, breaking from their predictable patterns. The US Defense Intelligence Agency echoed the concerns in a recent Inspector General's report. Covering April to June, it concluded that Ukraine had struggled to consistently use Patriot systems against Russia's modified missiles, citing attacks in late June and early July where only a fraction of incoming barrages were neutralized. Analysts point to software as the decisive factor. Fabian Hoffman, a missile researcher at the University of Oslo, noted that the Iskander-M can maneuver quite aggressively without major hardware changes. Instead, simple tweaks to guidance systems could instruct missiles to shift trajectory suddenly before diving steeply, overwhelming Patriot interceptors.
A steeper terminal trajectory, that's something you can program in the missile.
For Ukraine, this adaptability game has become deadly. Russia's Kinzhal missiles, fired from bombers beyond the reach of Kyiv's defences, and mobile Iskander launchers remain difficult to destroy. At the same time, Ukraine's Patriots, once bolstered by IRIS-T and other medium-range systems, have been forced to protect themselves, with some assets damaged or redeployed. The human toll has been high. Lieutenant Colonel Denis Sakun, chief engineer of Kyiv's 96th Brigade, and credited with helping set up the first successful downing of a Russian Kinzhal, was killed in December while attempting to save Patriot equipment during a fire caused by a Russian strike. President Volodymyr Zelensky has repeatedly urged Ukraine's partners to supply more Patriot systems. At least 6 are known to have been delivered, with additional components arriving from Germany and Norway. Kyiv has offered to purchase up to 10 more. But with winter looming, Zelensky warns of a renewed Russian effort to plunge Ukraine into darkness by targeting its power grid, this time armed with more capable missiles. The United States has taken a decisive step into uncharted territory in its support for Ukraine. On October 1st, the Wall Street Journal reported that President Donald Trump had authorized American intelligence agencies to provide Kyiv with targeting information for long-range strikes inside Russia. The move represents the first time Washington has openly sanctioned intelligence sharing for cross-border operations since the war began. According to US officials, the intelligence will specifically enable Ukrainian forces to identify and target Russian energy infrastructure, including refineries, pipelines, and power stations. By striking at the core of Moscow's war economy, Washington hopes to deprive the Kremlin of vital oil revenues while bolstering Kyiv's battlefield leverage. The policy shift was confirmed to the Wall Street Journal by officials briefed on the decision. NATO allies have been urged to follow Washington's lead, signalling a broader coalition effort may soon emerge. Alongside intelligence support, the Pentagon is weighing the delivery of Tomahawk and Barracuda missiles, long-range precision weapons with a reach of up to 500 miles. For Ukraine, such systems would mark a dramatic expansion of its capacity to hit deep inside Russian territory. One senior US official, speaking anonymously, cautioned that the administration was awaiting formal White House guidance before transferring sensitive intelligence to Ukrainian partners.
We are awaiting written guidance from the White House before sharing the necessary intelligence.
The development underscores a growing hardening in Trump's approach to Moscow. Frustrated by Russia's repeated rejection of peace talks, the president has begun to embrace measures aimed at shifting the balance of the war in Ukraine's favor. His stance was evident after a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky in New York on September 23rd, where he declared that Ukraine was in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back. Trump went further, dismissing Russia as a paper tiger, despite more than 3 years of grinding conflict. The new policy also dovetails with Trump's economic strategy. Determined to curtail Russia's oil revenues, the White House has pressed European allies to halt purchases of Russian crude, offering in return stronger US sanctions against Moscow. So far, neither the White House nor Ukraine's mission to the United Nations has issued a public statement on the latest intelligence decision. Russia's delegation in New York has also declined to comment. The shift has been welcomed by Ukrainian officials as they brace for another punishing winter campaign of Russian missile strikes. Moscow's forces have consistently targeted Ukraine's energy grid during the colder months, leaving millions without heat or power. This year, however, the threat is compounded by Russia's upgraded missile technology, which has successfully challenged Kyiv's Patriot air defense systems. Amid the broader geopolitical maneuvers, voices from the front line have offered stark reminders of the war's human dimension. Nate Vance, a US Marine Corps veteran who joined Ukraine's 1st Assault Regiment in 2022 and is a cousin of US Vice President J.D. Vance, addressed the Warsaw Security Forum on September 30th. He accused Russian President Vladimir Putin of deliberately obstructing peace efforts and directly undermining Trump's authority.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is just openly disrespectful to US President Donald Trump. It doesn't make the US president look foolish. It just makes Vladimir Putin look like a jerk. Putin wants to continue. He won't stop.
For Ukraine, the fusion of intelligence support, potential missile transfers, and political backing marks a pivotal moment in its war effort. Yet the stakes are equally high for Washington and its allies. By green-lighting operations inside Russia, the United States has crossed a line it had previously avoided, one that risks further escalation with the Kremlin.